Welcome to the Sugar Dome. I'm David Bull, and tonight my job is simple: to guide you. Your job is much more difficult: to prove yourselves. So, let's start today off right. You are, of course, currently knee-deep in an epic battle with dragons. But in addition to your beasts, the dome needs magic. This, I've got to see. Thank you very much indeed. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Most Haunted Live. I'm David Bull, and this is the final part of our trilogy, because tonight we will reach the climax of our extraordinary investigation. I definitely heard something there that sounded like footsteps. Louis, what do you make of that?
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily want to call it footsteps.
Okay.
I mean,
Did you hear something?
An anomalous sound. I mean...
Did you hear something?
There's definitely an anomalous sound on the tapes. What we can do...
So you heard something?
Yes.
Right, thank you.
I do agree with Matty there, because there are times on this programme where, you know, we've become used to seeing the unexpected, and yet last night there were a couple of times I completely jumped in the air. And when I saw your clip back, it really, really unnerves me.
The person joining the investigation team tonight is...
I think that's enough, thank you very much. I'm out of here.
And the whole time I kept seeing specialists and they said, "You're epileptic." And I said, "I am not epileptic. I know I'm not epileptic." And I basically went back to see a neurologist who had taught me, who's a fantastic woman, and I said, "Do you think it could be this diagnosis?" And she said, "Oh, it's so rare, you never see it in Britain." And it was. And what I was suffering from, I had been poisoned. What we're talking about is the middle of the brain, right here, which is where this particular chemical of dopamine is made. That's all you need to know. And this dopamine is released when we have food, when we have sex, things that we enjoy, and it's a pleasure principle. So we have a release, we love it.
Great stuff, Jonathan, great stuff. Now, you're a prefect, aren't you?
I am at school, yeah.
So I should show reverence to you, obviously. You've done so well. What do you draw your inspiration, or who do you draw your inspiration from?
Loads of my friends for support.
I had no idea. I hadn't really thought about the fact that diagnosis rhymed with cystic fibrosis. Brilliant, brilliant. Well, hello and welcome to the Accident and Emergency Department, where they see 73,000 patients every year. Now, you might think that Saturday night is the busiest time for A&E, but in fact, it isn't. She's quite a character, isn't she? And I mean, in the short time that I've spent with her this morning, she certainly knows her own mind.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Doesn't she?
Yes.
Yes, and you know that we're talking about you. And in fact, you know, she seems very clear what she wants, and just the difficulty is that she can't communicate it to you.
That's right.
There we go. Hooray! I'm cured. Now, your go. Christopher's turn. Look, would you like yours taken off now? You want to keep it? I think we need to take it off, though. Now, how do you deal with children who don't really want to part with their plaster cards? In terms of what sort of food he's eating now, do you feel he's eating healthy, a good balanced diet, or do you think that he's eating as all... Oh, well done. Or do you think... You've finished, well done, brilliant. But first tonight, thousands of operations are being cancelled because hospital beds are being taken up by elderly people. They're fit enough to leave, but they can't. How do you answer that? People are waiting on trolleys. Newspaper headings are saying, casualty units fundamentally unsafe, horrific waits, patients waiting on trolleys for 20 hours, a 93-year-old lady on a trolley for 90 hours. It's unacceptable.
Oh, I agree.
The British Medical Association have told Health Check today that this is a national crisis. Well, the Department of Health said, well, in fact, in the NHS plan, they have given £900 million over 3 years to keep elderly patients out of hospital. So they say they're doing something. At the end of the day, all politicians do the same thing. They play this political football, and the people who lose are people like George and Rita Hemingway.
Grief is a really important process that you go through, and there are lots of phases of grief, you know, which start sort of with shock and denial and anger and so on, and then you kind of work through to acceptance. You never forget, and I think the interesting thing is how old you are at the time that it happens and how close you are and things like that, but you don't ever forget. You learn to live with it, and I think you have to then turn those experiences, as Dermot was saying, into positive ones, saying actually we shared some great times, he was a little, you know, rascal sometimes, I gave as good as I got, and I think you then remember those really important memories, but you never ever forget. think it's a very serious subject, actually, and we as doctors do see a lot of people coming in who have got sexual problems, and a lot of it's about confidence. And I think there's a lot to be said for actually talking through some of the issues and so on and talking it. But I really like the idea of doing that one-to-one with someone that you can trust, that you don't, that you can really impart any information. I think this would be slightly bizarre to be in a classroom surrounded by a flogger and cucumbers. Personally, with men, you know, I think they may be nervous. I think particularly if it's on a new date or you're out and you're trying to, you know, pull someone in a bar, then you're obviously going to be having a few drinks as well. It gives you Dutch courage. You're more likely to say hilarious things to try and impress them. And of course, there is a very fine line between how much you can have before, you know, as you say, your performance is severely impeded.
Are you a legit doctor, or did you buy the title, or what? Are you...
Goodbye. I am a real one. I am a real one.
Really?
But,
so I can come to you with all my problems.
But, well, there are many, but I was going to say that, you know, if you had a heart attack, for instance, now, I think you've really rather blotted your copybook, haven't you?